You don't rise to your goals. You rise to your team. And in this episode of the Contagious Culture podcast, we're diving into what it takes to build your dream board of directors, not just for your school, but for the vision of where your school is going. Whether you're leading a school, scaling a business, or trying to elevate your purpose, your success will rise or fall with people in your corner or the wrong people in your corner. We'll look at what makes a powerful advisory team, why diversity of thoughts matter, and how the original dream team taught us that greatness isn't just about talent. It's about chemistry and shared vision, mission, and trust. Welcome to another episode of the Contagious Culture podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King, and the goal of this podcast is simple: to help you create an ecosystem of academic excellence through inspiring conversations, practical and actionable steps and strategies and insights. We empower educators, leaders, and change makers to foster trust, collaboration, and academic excellence, to provide you with the resources that you need to succeed as an educational leader. As a former board member of a nationally recognized educational nonprofit, a nationally recognized nonprofit that focuses and partners with educators, as well as a well-recognized board member of a charter school, I've seen the challenges, the successes, the failures, and a lot of the back and behind the scenes things that happen with board of directors. Now, this episode is not a tell-all. This isn't one of those conversations where I'm gonna pull the curtain back to all of the things that happen with boards. But the purpose of this episode is to talk about how the company kept is so necessary in designing a dream board of directors. Now, let's talk about what a board of directors is. There's a multitude of ways that we can approach this. One way is, let's look at it personally. When I go on my phone and go into my contacts, I click this button called list, and I have an iPhone. So when I go to my contacts, I have lists, and I have different types of lists. One of them is board of directors, and another one is educators, and all these other lists, right? So if I click on board of directors, I have 14 people in my board of directors. Now, how I would define my board of directors is people in my life that are my advisors, mentors, coaches, and guides, not just when life is challenging, but they also hold me accountable to ensure my highest level of excellence, integrity, and productivity in not just business, but also personally. This list is comprised of venture capitalists, pastors, very, very close friends, former professors, business professionals, educators, financial advisors, real estate investors, a speaking coach, two individuals that have sold major organizations, and some content creators, of course. And when I think about my board of directors, these are people that I connect with on a monthly basis, one-on-one, and quarterly, collectively, and not just an email. I mean, actually going to see them face-to-face in person, or based upon schedules, we may meet via Zoom or Google Meets or Microsoft Teams. And the purpose of these individuals is to keep me on track, to keep me strong, to keep me firm, and to keep me accountable, to ensure that I'm actually in alignment with the goals that I've set for that year, the vision that I'm living in my life, and to ensure that I am actually in alignment with the person that I say I want to be. In a former episode, I talked about how to scale up your average and how it is your average that's leading to you not being productive as a leader within your educational institution or running your organization. So when I think about the person that I want to be, when I think about the man that I want to be, the parent that I want to be, the leader that I want to be, when I think about the believer that I want to be, I have to ensure that there are people in my life that can keep me congruent with that person, because congruency is necessary for you achieving the various goals that you want to be able to achieve in your life. And what I've recognized that when there is not alignment, that's what then leads to stress and overwhelm and anxiety and all of these various things. So let's talk about leadership. Now, I want to talk about the 1992 U.S. Olympic Dream Team. And if you don't know who the U.S. Olympic Dream Team is, you probably live under a rock. But I want to talk about the 1992 Dream Team, which is an NBA team, and how they're the perfect metaphor for building not only an organizational board, but your personal board as well. Because ultimately, it wasn't about just stacking the deck and stacking talent. It's about ultimately how that talent worked together. So let me just give you some quick facts about this team. The 1992 U.S. men's basketball team was the first Olympic team to feature active NBA players: Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Charles Barkley. Let's just talk about it. I'm sure you've heard of at least one of those names, but to have all four of those names on the same team was unheard of. They won every game by an average of 44 points. 44 points. And what this did is not just showcase just a feature of basketball players. What this allowed us to do as a U.S., not even just an economy, but a sports team, is to redefine global basketball dominance. We dominated in this, and I say it like I was there. Despite egos and all of the individual greatness, the goal was simple, and they were deeply committed to the mission, respected each other's lanes, and played selflessly. Very different than today's sporting realm. And one of the quotes that I just absolutely loved by Phil Jackson, who is one of the greatest coaches of all times, he said, "The strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each member is the team." What Chuck Daly famously said about this team, and he was the head coach of the team at this time, he said that you can't have a team of 12 Michael Jordans. You need role players who buy in. So when we think about shared vision, each player had to put country, team, and purpose over personal stats. Some of these big names, like Isaiah Thomas, were not selected because of chemistry concerns, which is an important leadership lesson about fit over flash. Now, let's talk about this for a second. When you look at your board of directors for your school or for your nonprofit organization, or even for your company, who are the players on your team? Were the players on your team methodically selected based upon winning a championship? Or were they methodically selected based upon people's personal preferences in their own individual lives? Because I've been on boards that the board chairman has been recommended board members that are focused on growing the school, getting resources, creating global dominance. But that individual was more concerned on personal relationships and their own agenda and seeking need for control rather than a commitment of team, mission, and country. And in the realm of understanding the importance of team, mission, and country is school, mission, and teachers. If we design a board that are committed to the school, the mission, and the teachers more than their personal agenda, more than their own direct aspiration, more than their personal or professional relationships, then that begins the journey for us to be able to build a dream board of directors. For me in my life, what I did to be able to personally design a board of directors is I had to ask myself a few different questions. Number one is, of course, Kyle, where do you want to go? And there's a book that I read years ago called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan, phenomenal writer, phenomenal book, that talks about a lot of times we are getting in these spaces and we want to always understand, how do I do this or how do I do that? But rather, it's more important to connect yourself with a who so that it can accelerate your productivity and essentially your success moving forward a lot quicker. So with me understanding where I wanted to go, my first step was, all right, well, who are some who's that I'm connected to or have been connected to that can help me get there? One of my goals was to be able to be my net worth at $10 million by 40. So my next question is, are there people in my network that are either at that number or higher, or have taught other people how to be able to do that? Well, to my surprise, I had people that I was connected to that helped me do that. So when I'm having conversations about these individuals, the content is clear. My goal is to be able to get here. What are our yearly targets of whether it's investing? What are our monthly targets in regards to managing income or maximizing investments? What does this look like? Where do I need to be positioning my money? The difference in insurances, all of these various things is very cut and dry. It's very clean on why those conversations exist. Now, one of the other things that I recognize in other questions is, where are my gaps in my life? And I recognize that when I would continue to grow professionally, I would put so much time into professions and jobs and creating for the role that I was currently sitting in, where it would minimize the time that I would spend in the Word of God. So what I recognize is I need to have someone, a spiritual leader, that I could touch base with every single week so that I can ensure that I'm on track biblically and spiritually so that I can lead in that area as well. Whether that's meeting with them once a week, and now when we talk, we're talking about the Word, or that person is holding me accountable to homework that they gave me that I was supposed to complete prior to us connecting. So it keeps me focused on those various things. If I know that I want to be the best possible father to navigate this situations, then I need people on my board of directors that can get me to those places. So the two approaches that I would take is, where do you want to go and where are your current gaps? Because where you want to go, who are the who's that can help you get there, that have already shown and proven success in that area? I'm not going to ask an individual with $200,000 or $200 in their account to teach me how to make $2 million. Now, I'm not saying that you can't glean something from anyone, but when I talk about the board of directors, these people have been voted, these people have been vetted, and these people bring a level of value that is necessary for you to be able to get to the place in your life that you desire to get to. So that's from a personal standpoint. From a professional standpoint, let's talk about how to assess where your board of directors are, as well as how to assess who we need on our board. Let me give you an example and a quick hack. I've already said it. When you think about where your school is going, who are some who's that you need that can be able to push you towards where you're going? Let's say you need someone on the board, or you want to be able to focus on fundraising or advancement, and you want to be able to have an expansion plan as you move forward with growing your school. And then I truly believe that you either need to hire an advisor to report to the board, or offer a seat to someone on the board that is advising the board or leaders that work with the school on these specific areas so that they can continue to grow the school forward. If you recognize that community partners and resources and mobilizing resources is priority for the growth of the school over the next 2 to 3 years, then it may be necessary for you to provide someone a board seat that is an expert in that specific area, that already has the resources, the clout, and the abilities in that specific area. Who is your who? The other question, thinking of it from the other side, is what are some gaps that your school is currently experiencing? When you think of this question, if you have a problem with academic achievement and, let's say, reading scores or a certain state curriculum or standard-based curriculum or instruction, do you have an instructional leader on your board of directors? Do you have someone that doesn't just teach, but someone that has an ability to train, to coach, to develop, to empower, to challenge the current group of educators that you have at the schools that you may be governing or serving? Someone on there that can challenge leaders to think differently or grow their frame of thinking. If we are recognizing that we have lawsuits continuously about some of the various practices at our school, do we have someone on our board that isn't just a practicing lawyer or a retired lawyer, but do we have someone on our board that understands educational law and this side of the table? Where are we going? What are our gaps? And this will allow us to understand the priorities of the board. And when we think about it, I would identify two people. One person that can get us where we're going, and that's my offense. And then another person that can stop or fill the gap, and that's my defense. Someone to protect us and someone to promote us. Okay? Now, when I think about a board, I think about 7 positions that are necessary to have on the board. And if you don't have one of these positions or all of these positions, then you can put them in the list of priorities based upon where you are at the school, based upon your growth, based upon your years of experience. But I want to just write down and just have you write down these 7 board members that are important for your organization that I would recommend every single school ensuring that they have. Number 1 is, who is our visionary? Who is the person that understands the mission, the vision, the values more than anyone? Potentially a founder. And research has shown that when there's a founding board member on the board, it continues to ensure that the school or the organization is staying on mission. And that person usually works harder than any other board member because they were the original founder of that school. So who is the visionary? Who is the person that can keep us essentially connected and focused on why we're here in the first place? I've worked with a board member like this. He was a classical education nut. He absolutely loved it. And he ensured and pushed back all the time to ensure that the school was focused on becoming a classically educated school. And resources or people or leaders or teachers that came on board, he wanted to ensure that they are classically trained, classically led, classically educated. And I loved it completely because he stuck with the mission of the school. So number 1 is your visionary. Number 2, like I mentioned earlier, is your academic. You need someone on your board that is a leader in the academic portion of your school. You need an academic leader, someone that can look at data, someone that can push leaders, someone that can ask the tough questions, someone that can look at the vision of the school and be able to assess the numbers, the growth scores. It's important that you have someone on your board that is connected and understands the academics and then being able to coach, train, lead, and mentor other individuals. Number 3 is someone that can go out there and get you some resources, whether it's partnerships, whether it's funding, whether it's philanthropy. We recommend that you would get someone on your board that understands, that has relationships, that can go out and get resources. That is important because your school will only grow as much as, number 1, government dollars, but we've seen how far that can get in our economy. Number 2 is the resources and the partnerships and the relationships that you have in the school. Okay. So number 1 is visionary. Number 2 is academic. Number 3 is someone that can go out there and create community engagement. Number 4, like I mentioned earlier, is a legal professional. Now, I do believe that every board that I've seen has some form of a lawyer, some form of someone with some type of legal background or legal acumen on their board. And I think that part and that person is important and paramount to growing a successful board, a successful dream team as well. Number 5 is you have to have someone that understands the numbers financially. This has been one of the most critical positions to fill, especially as charter schools. And if you're a charter school leader or a private school leader, I know you understand where I'm coming from. You need someone in there that has an accounting background or can understand the numbers, understand your bonding package, understand enrollment numbers, understand growth numbers and all of where the school is going, understand cost, understand revenue, understand philanthropy. The person has a financial mind and is a math mind, because the school will only run as long as your leaders and your finances. All right. So your finances is number 5. Number 6 and 7 are 2 completely different ones. Number 6 is, again, your defense player, someone that can fill a gap that your school is currently filling. So we look at this person as a problem solver, someone that is a strategist, someone that can assess the problems and being able to solve them. And then number 7, which is most important, is a stakeholder. Oftentimes we live in a silo as educators. We oftentimes do not talk to the end user before we make decisions as a school. Whether this is a parent, whether this is a student, whether this is a community member, whether this is a former alumni, I believe it's important to have someone on your board that can understand the school, have a voice inside the school with parents, students, but then also be able to stay true to where the school is going. These 7 people are critical to being able to grow your school, to be able to develop your dream team, but then also look in your own life. Who are the people in your life that can move you forward? And then who are the people that can fill specific gaps within your life as well? Remember, leadership is the most important step and factor of growing a great organization. But ultimately, remember, the energy you bring is the culture you create. When we look at our boards, when we look at our lives, when we look at our teams, are we mission-driven, organization-driven, and team-driven? Remove your ego, remove your personal or professional agendas, and create a dream team that can create global dominance. My name is Kyle King. Thank you for joining me on the Contagious Culture podcast. And before we end, I want you to ask yourself this week, what kind of culture am I spreading? Culture is everywhere and in anything. Make yours worth catching. We'll see you next episode.